Um, oh, thank you. Oh, we got.
Need
Um,
to check on.
keep me one that says chew. Um, I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. This afternoon's Finance Committee. You may have noticed I am not Neil Zuckerman. I am sitting in for Chair Zuckerman. I let people say that. They confuse us all the time. Separated at birth is the term they usually use. That's the line too far. Well, we have a spicy crowd. So, do we have any public comments to start?
Yes, Chair, we have 3 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first public speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president of Passengers United. And what's very important is that, we have a city ticket weekly and that we have a monthly city ticket for the Long Island Railroad. The proposed plan that's being proposed today at the Finance Committee meeting. So a 10% savings does not help city residents because it does not include a free transfer to the bus, subway, or express bus. And so we need a discount. It is very important, especially for transit deserts. And I know that this legislation was voted on in 2019, but I think that the MT and in good faith, everyone should go back to the planning table, and they really need to have a weekly city ticket that can be used on the express bus, Long Island Railroad, subway, and local bus, and that should be $45. Same thing for the monthly. It should be like $145 and include a LIR unlimited pass and an express bus pass, a subway and local bus pass. That is how you get people excited about using mass transit. Other cities have figured this out, and we still have not figured this out. So I'm ashamed at the MTA and I'm ashamed at all the other organizations because they all went up to Albany. Passengers United was not allowed to work with them. We were pushed out of the way, and now look what happened. So, we need these discounts. It is critical, and the subway system cannot handle the overflow crowds from congestion pricing. So, we're going to need the express buses have capacity. We're going to need to fill up the express buses. We're going to need to fill up the Long Island Railroad with commuters, but they need discounts because right now the subway system is in a state of crisis, an emergency, and it's not working for us. Thank you. I'm the president of Passengers United. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Maddie Bucky's Highland.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Manny W. Bucky's Highland. For today, I want to speak about fares. Earlier today, I spoke. First of all, it's Autism Awareness Month. As you can see on my shirt, I went to high school in Levittown. But, here's the thing. For fares for people with autism, for children who are 5 to 11, they can ride the Long Island Railroad for $1 if they're accompanied by a paying adult. Second of all, we need when children turn 12 and older, they should be eligible to use a reduced fare regardless of income. Second of all, I spoke earlier today about fare evasion. None of us likes to pay, but there might be members of the public as well as staff in the boardroom right now, in that very boardroom that lives in New Jersey. They have to pay a $13.38 toll or easy pass or $17.63 to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey under the leadership of Chairman Kevin J. O'Toole as the Board of Commissioners chairman. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this month. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our last speaker will be Jason Anthony.
Hey Sam, hey Kevin. Good afternoon to the Finance Committee. I was able to attend the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey's board meeting, and I asked a simple question. Since that you guys voted in support of congestion pricing and it was approved, we asked that what was their position regarding congestion pricing. Their response, none. We saw a presentation of their financial officer who happened to be standing within less than 10 feet from me. And what do I happen to see? A disclaimer. And one of the words that highlighted was unaudited. I was like, why? And before their board meetings, we don't get to see their own data. And why I mentioned this, why I mentioned Kevin's name in their meeting, because since a native New Yorker born in the Southview neighborhood of the Bronx, is that I want the MTA, New Jersey Transit Corporation, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to work as a regent. But it seems like New Jersey Transit Corporation and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, they're not listening. This is why we got approved congestion pricing. But they're like, they want to raise their fares 15 and 3%. Guess what, folks? Within the next 2 years, New Jersey residents are paying 18% more than us. So think about it, folks. I'll see you guys next month.
Thank you. This concludes the public comments portion of the agenda.
Thank you to all our public speakers. Before we move on with the agenda, I'd like to provide a warm welcome on behalf of Chairman Zuckerman to Mark Herbst and Mira Joshi. Thank you for joining the committee. We're glad to have you. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes, unless there are any. No? David, second. Second. Lisa, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed, abstentions? Motion approved. Next on the agenda, we have financial performance reports. Steve, take it away.
Thank you. April 24th, financial performance comments. Year-to-date March 2024, our preliminary results compared with the adopted budget were unfavorable by 14 million or 1%, while the month of March was unfavorable by 8 million or 6%. However, reported operating expenses were significantly impacted by a positive accounting adjustment of $43 million in March that reverses accruals related to 2023 headquarters expenses. Without this one-time adjustment, unfavorable net preliminary operating results would have been worse. The year-to-date March deficit would have been 57 million, and the deficit for the month of March would have been 51 million. Operating revenues on a year-to-date basis were $3 million favorable, less than 1%. While passenger revenues were $38 million unfavorable, this was offset by favorable toll revenues of $24 million and favorable other operating revenues of $17 million. As a reminder, the adopted budget includes below the line a farebox revenue loss provision of $100 million for 2024 to offset unfavorable passenger revenue results. For March, operating revenues were $3 million unfavorable, less than 1%. Passenger revenues were $12 million unfavorable, while toll revenue was $3 million favorable, and other operating revenue was $6 million favorable. The favorable results for the other operating revenue reflect favorable city reimbursement for paratransit operations, advertising revenue, station retail revenue, and net retail revenue in the Grand Central Terminal. The 2024 adopted budget for passenger revenue is based on the midpoint between the McKinsey-prepared high case and low case scenarios. In March, passenger revenues were above the midpoint, 72.8% versus 71.4% when compared with March 2019. Passenger revenues through March remain $398 million below passenger revenue in 2019, while toll revenue exceeded 2019 toll revenue by $44 million, 10%. These changes from 2019 are adjusted to account for rate changes in fares and tolls during this period. Operating subsidies, including investment income on a year-to-date basis, were $57 million or 3% unfavorable. This reflects unfavorable mortgage recording tax, MRT, of $40 million at 35%, urban tax of $33 million, 26%, payroll mobility tax, PMT, of $20 million, 3%, MTA aid of $13 million, 18%, and for-hire vehicle surcharge of $8 million, 9%. Partially offsetting these results were favorable petroleum business tax, the PBT, of $38 million, 27% of which $36 million was due to December receipts not transferred to the MTA until early January. Additionally, investment income was favorable by $11 million. The Connecticut subsidy was favorable by $4 million, and automated camera enforcement revenue was favorable by $3 million. For March, operating subsidies, again including investment income, were $63 million or 8% unfavorable. The capital subsidies year-to-date through March were $2 million favorable due to receipts from the real property transfer tax surcharge, also known as the mansion tax. Operating expenses were favorable by $27 million, 1%, and March expenses were $53 million, 4% favorable. However, as noted previously, this result is significantly impacted by an accounting adjustment of $43 million specifically in March that reverses accruals of 2023 headquarters non-labor expenses, primarily in the IT and real estate departments. Adjusting for this impact, year-to-date March operating expenses would be unfavorable by $16 million, 0.04%, and the month of March would be favorable by $10 million, 1%. Overtime year-to-date through March was $101 million, or 50% unfavorable, while payroll was $55 million, or 4% favorable. In March, overtime was $29 million, 42% unfavorable, while payroll was $24 million, 5% favorable. Debt service expense was $13 million, 2% favorable year-to-date March, and was $5 million, 2% favorable for March, both primarily due to the timing of debt service accruals. Further details are available in this month's financial performance report.
Steve, could you repeat that?
From memory.
Before we, I just had one question. I know Kevin wants to add a few things, but I'll ask it on the record of how far we were into the $100 million, fare box contingency, and then, Kevin, you wanted to add a few things.
Yeah, when Steve reports out the variance on our revenue versus budget, that doesn't take into account the $100 million that we've assumed that we'd be, that we reserve for. So if you look at it, our total fare box revenue is $38 million unfavorable year to date for the first quarter, and the bus portion of that's $29 million, and so we've reserved $100 for the year, which is, we kind of said against bus, which would have been 25. So we've consumed, I would say, $38 million of the $100 of reserve. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where we are.
Proportionally, I mean, we're a month out from June.
Yeah.
This is a question of a drop in ridership, or is this fare evasion issues?
So the stories are the same, right? That the subway paid ridership subway, we're pretty close to the McKinsey midpoint. Same thing with the commuter rails. They're actually doing a little bit better. B&T's doing better. And, all the averages are being dragged down by the paid ridership on bus, which, based on the automatic people counters is mainly, the mix of unpaid riders too much, so fare evasion.
Beating a dead horse. But the focus in terms of fare evasion is almost exclusively on subways. And
we've deployed more Eagle teams.
But
yes.
Eagle teams it's good. It's switched from the sort of certain types of buses to regular buses.
Yeah.
But we just heard a report, all the emphasis is on subway. And of course, I've even stopped asking for the racial demographics because I assume it's skyrocketing, 98% probably now, black and brown. So I am concerned that we start to merge these issues together of fare evasion and subways and an over-policing, particularly of poor black and brown communities. Yet our drain is not there. So I'll get off it. I'm still concerned about this because it seems to be persistent from the 9 years I've been on this board. That again, we seem to be leaning into the public perception of who is fare evaders. It's these black and brown kids jumping over turnstiles, when in fact, that's not quite the reality here. It's everybody. It's everybody. Thank you.
No, and we had conversations, a lot of the conversations this week about the commuter rails as well, so I think, David, your point is well taken. And all fare evasion, whether it's, buses, subways, commuter rails, or the, bridges and tunnels, we have to take seriously.
Well, I mean, there is, as you know, at a part of the package in Albany, try to make some progress on toll evasion also, so we're, trying to fight where, we have a chance of actually getting good results. Just a quick takeaway again. So I think we talked about the revenue side, kind of the same story every month. And I think the real key for the year is we're still projecting some growth in ridership throughout the year. And we need the couple percent growth on all modes. On the other part of revenue on the taxes and subsidies, kind of same story. The real estate taxes are we're about 75 million under budget through the first quarter. The budget assumed a little bit of a rebound in the real estate taxes from the $600 million drop last year. We're not really seeing that. As a matter of fact, it just continues to struggle. So that's something we have to watch closely. On the expense side, although the whole mix kind of gets us close to our budgeted expenses, we are still looking, particularly the overtime expense and so forth, and needing to, we've gotten some of the vacancies filled and so forth, but need to see that overtime come back. So I'd say in terms of our getting the savings we need to realize out of the expense budget, still a lot of wood to chop for the year to hit our budget numbers. So
Okay.
that's the summary.
Any question? I would like for future. I don't think it's too soon probably to ask for it, but at some point, understanding. I think we touching on the tier 6 impact, of our
Jay's going to talk about it.
Oh wow, on demand. Look at that. How good are you? I forget Neil. This is fun. I'm going to do this. You guys are so ready for this. Jay, take it away.
So a couple things on my agenda today, so I'll go through them in a little bit of order. First is the temporary fare pilot that you've heard about on the railroads. So we're seeking MTA board approval to launch a temporary fare pilot promotion pertaining to travel on the MTA railroads within New York City. The implementation of congestion pricing presents an opportunity to attract customers to transit with additional options for travel within the congestion relief zone that are affordable, fast, and convenient. As such, the MTA is proposing a temporary fare pilot promotion for railroad customers for a discount up to 10% on monthly passes within the city zone. This fare pilot will start with the sale of monthly passes for July 2024. Those go on sale on June 25th, effective for the July monthlies. The duration of this fare pilot promotion would be at least 12 months and may continue until the next permanent fare change, provided continued funding from the Outer Borough Transportation account. We value this at approximately $4 million for the benefit of our customers that would be receiving this discount. Approximately 70,000 monthly passes are purchased in an annual year between Metro North and New York City, Metro North and Long Island Railroad within city travel. That's Zone 1 and 3 with Long Island Railroad, Zone 1, 2, and 311 for Metro North customers, and it'll also approximately benefit 12,000 monthly student tickets that are purchased annually. Any questions?
David?
Estimates on how much this is going to cost us?
$4 million approximately will be the benefit to the customers that receive the discount.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay.
Andrew?
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody knows I was a big fan of the Atlantic Ticket Weekly, which gave people transportation on commuter rail, bus, and subway. There would be no reason for anybody to drive when you had all of those means of transportation paid for. Has any investigation been done on a possibly lower point of discount, but including subways and buses in this monthly ticket?
Not at this moment. So we've just looked at the 10% on the city zones to benefit those customers at this point. We can definitely take a look at.
I'm asking because we've had much testimony from when we were talking about Atlantic Ticket and our Freedom Ticket proposal and all of that. And the majority of the folks who will utilize Long Island or Metro North in the boroughs are not just having a one-seat ride. They are changing to another form of transportation, whether it's a bus or a subway, to reach their final destination. And I think it would really, really get people on the system and out of their cars if we offered, you paid for this, you get everything.
And just as a reminder, right, customers can buy the weekly 7-day
Yep.
$33 Metro card or tap as you go and get the benefit for $33 on a weekly basis. That's not limited to
Sure.
any customer. They can use that today. We encourage that usage as we've priced that benefit lower than a monthly Metro card or monthly cost of a subway and bus. So we encourage the usage of that, but understand the question at hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jay? Oh,
Can we
we need a
vote?
motion.
Yeah,
we need a motion. Motion, Jamie, second. David, all in favor? Any abstentions or opposed? All in favor? David, do that already? Thank you, motion carries. No, we voted.
No, I know.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Is this pilot contingent on congestion pricing actually starting?
Now, this is in part and parcel of offering customers a discount during the congestion pricing, but this would still move on even if congestion pricing
Okay, thank
didn't
you.
occur.
Right, but the idea is, the idea is to promote ways, so.
Right, and it is being funded out of the outer borough account, which is, money set aside from the for-hire vehicle fees.
Now for tier 6.
Sure. So Tier 6, the state budget passed a change to Tier 6. The change in Tier 6 is the final average salary previously was calculated at 5 years. The change is now it will be on a 3-year final average calculation. Also, they extended the overtime cost not being included as part of your rate calculation for another 2 years. We also estimated the cost to the MTA of this change, and the majority of the change that affects the MTA Tier 6 members is the change of final average salary from 5 to 3. We approximate that this will cost the MTA about $30 million annually, which would grow by almost 5% given the sort of pension liabilities that we carry. So that's the Tier 6 update. There's an administrative issue that I'd like to have Lizette update us on for Tier 6.
Yes, we wanted to brief you on some findings related to how we had been administering the Tier 6 pension. A review of our pension system showed that the correct contribution rates weren't being consistently applied. So we took a deep dive working with an actuarial consultant to look at every Tier 6 participant to determine the impact. And what we found was that there are employees that over-contributed to their pensions, which will require them to get a refund of that over-contribution. A smaller number of employees we found under-contributed, and they will be required to make up the difference between what they contributed to what they should have contributed. And part of the plan rules require that any under contributions be paid, have interest be paid on that delta, and the MTA will be paying for that interest to keep employees whole. And the reason why we're briefing you on this is because employee communications will start in the next few weeks, letting folks know you might be hearing about it. So I wanted you to have that context before you heard it elsewhere. So overall, that was my update.
Great. Any other questions on Tier 6? No?
Yeah, do you project any attrition effects from the changes in Tier 6?
I think we have our normal attrition built in on the actuary. Tier 6 is now, I think, 12 years old. So we will start to see some retirements from Tier 6. But originally, as you remember, I think it was last year or the prior year, it was a 10-year vesting period. They changed it from 10 years to 5 years, and now they're changing the final average salary calculation. So it usually will bring some retirements for people who actually hit those numbers. But otherwise, I think, most people that are vested in a pension, they, are here long term.
Yeah. Any other questions? Do we need a motion? No,
No
this
motion.
is information
That was
item.
just information. One more item.
One more.
One more, if I can just update the board. We hit a milestone in finance. We last week launched open data for finance material. So you will see, you will be able to use the open data portal for MTA to go to our different financial plans, look at the different tables by agency, the budgets by financial plan, revenues, as well as actuals will be built into that on a monthly basis. Our headcount data that we produce on a monthly basis will also be in open data format. So we're happy to announce that it's live. We've been able to use it and provide guidance to folks internally to use the data, but it is something that we've been striving for about 6 to 12 months, I want to say, in the finance group to get this done automated, and it's a milestone for us. Thank you for the open data group at Strategic Initiatives, as well as our finance team internally that worked on this. We're really appreciative of this.
Oh, great, thanks. That is a big milestone, and transparency in government is a virtue, albeit it can be a headache too. But it's still a virtue, and it's a laudable that it's a big accomplishment. David, you had a question?
Yeah, I wonder at some point at a board meeting where we're not overwhelmed, you could actually make some presentation on it. I'd be extraordinarily interested.
We are happy to
in
do
how it's used and what
we
can
are.
be done with it.
We'll be happy to do that.
Yep. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other items? Okay, thank you, Jay. Moving on to Olga for the finance portion.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have two upcoming transactions to report. Both will price in May. The first one is $1 billion of Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority payroll mobility tax senior lien refunding green bonds, Series 2024B. The proceeds of this transaction will be used to retire outstanding bond anticipation notes and also refund certain outstanding transportation revenue bonds for savings. This transaction will be led by book-running senior manager, BofA Securities. And as always, we do our part in helping MTA to meet its MWB goals. So we have appointed special core senior managers, which are all MWB and SDVOB and MBE firms. That's Blaylock Van, Mishler Financial Group, and Stern Brothers. And the second transaction will be pricing in May is up to $600 million of TBTA payroll mobility bond anticipation notes, Series 2024C. Proceeds of that transaction will be used to fund approved transit and commuter projects in the current capital program, and the notes will be sold competitively. This concludes my report on the two transactions, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Olga. Any questions for Olga? And thank you, Olga. Appreciate it. And now, Steve, you take us through the MTA all agency items.
There is one item this month. Capital Funding Management is seeking board approval to file for and accept federal grants for federal fiscal year 2024. In conformance with past practices, the resolution would authorize the chairman or any of his designees to make required certifications and assurances, and authorize the filing and acceptance of grant applications for federal fiscal year 2024 federal appropriations. Olga Chernat is available if there are any questions on this topic.
We love federal grants. Any questions, David? Just supportive. Go federal grants. Yeah, I think we're all for federal grants. So, David, can I take that as an enthusiastic motion? All right. Do I have a equally enthusiastic second? Mark, we'll get you, Miriam, for one. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Go federal grants. Thank you. And there are no agency headquarters procurements this month. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Olga. Information items. The first information item is the annual report on variable rate debt, and Olga will give a presentation.
So good afternoon again. As Chair noted, I have a presentation for you today on MTA's variable rate debt. This is an annual presentation, so we report on variable rate portfolio every year. I know we're running behind a little bit on schedule today, so in the interest of time, I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the slides of the presentation and kind of leave you with key takeaways.
Thank you.
So let me actually start with this pie chart slide. So as you know, and as we again discuss when we present our report on debt portfolio in January, most of the debt we issue is used to finance MTA capital projects. So most of the debt is issued in fixed rate, and that means that at the time of the issuance, we lock in interest rate on the debt to maturity. There is a relatively modest piece of the portfolio, and that's variable rate, highlighted on this slide as two slices, one in orange, one in greenish color. Altogether, this is approximately 6% of the outstanding portfolio, and that's variable rate debt. So in difference to fixed rate debt, variable rate debt is debt on which interest rates reset periodically. Typically for our portfolio, that's daily or weekly, and the rate fluctuates with fluctuations in prevailing short-term market rates. I just want to note that, as you can see, most of the variable rate debt that we have in the portfolio is hedged, so that reduces our exposure to interest rate fluctuations. And basically that's the orange slide. So roughly 2/3 of the overall variable rate portfolio is hedged. The remaining unhedged piece is only 2%, and that's well within our policy for variable rate debt that allows for our exposure to be up to 25%. The other key slide in this presentation, I would say, is how we're performing relative to budget. So we've been consistently assuming for a variable rate 4% for budgeting purposes. And as you can see on this slide, we, basically at budget, there was like 1 million of savings that we're able to deliver last year, but essentially we, very close to that. And so far through the first quarter of this year, we kind of seen a similar dynamic. There are other materials in this presentation. There are slides that talk a little bit about fixed rate versus variable rate environment, and the upshot of that is right now it's not the most optimal time to issue variable rate debt because the benefit of it relative to fixed rate is pretty small. And so we've basically maintained our portfolio at kind of these levels, not really laying on additional variable rate debt. Again, the portfolio is performing as expected. Other materials we included are, discussions about remarketing agents, banks that support our variable rate portfolio, swap information. Happy to take questions on any of that.
And just note, the full presentation is in the board book, right, if anyone wants to review and can follow up with questions. So,
That's correct.
Any questions? It seems like it's a very managed condition, you're taking the right approach.
Yes, modest piece of a portfolio that's performing on budget and as expected. No major issues.
Any questions? Well, thank you, Olga.
Thank you.
And now we turn to Lizette for agency procurements.
There's one information item for before the New York City Transit Committee this month, which was approved, requesting the board to approve the ratification of an immediate operating need for contracts with Hayden AI and Sion USA Corp. For the purchase, installation, operation, and maintenance of automated bus lane enforcement systems. Hayden will provide up to 1,023 systems and Sion up to 1,000. There is one information item for Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad approved by their respective committee, requesting the board to approve the award of a 5-year contract for rail flaw testing and joint bar inspection services to Sperry Rail, Inc. And there is also one information item for Bridges and Tunnels, requesting the board to approve the award of 3 5-year estimated quantity contracts for the provision of electric transponders and related equipment and services for the Easy Pass electronic toll collection system to Neology Inc., TransCore LP, and Star System America LLC. The committee considered the item, however, a quorum was not present, so the item will be presented to the full board tomorrow. And there are no information items for MTA or headquarters this month. Headquarters this month.
Thank you, Lizette. And just for the edification of our new members, these are information items. These are other items that are taken up in other committees and voted on there, but by dint of their financial impact, we get to hear about all of them. Are there any questions on any of these information items? Thank you, Lizette. Much appreciated. The monthly consolidated reports can be found in the committee book. Next, we have the real estate agenda. David?
Thank you. Real estate has 2 transactional action items for consideration and approval. The first is an action item for MTA Metro North Railroad. It's a license extension with City Winery to facilitate an assignment of its license for a restaurant at Grand Central Terminal. And the second is an action item for the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. It is a letter agreement for the 2nd Avenue Subway Phase 2 field office lease at 159 East 125th Street. There are, in addition, 4 information items. The first is for MTA New York City Transit. It's a license between New York City Transit and the Department of Environmental Protection for the construction of a signal tower in Queens. The second item is for MTA Bridges and Tunnels. It is an entry permit between B&T and 300 East 40th Street condominium for the placement of a shed and scaffolding on a sidewalk adjacent to that building in connection with its local law work. The third and fourth information items are for MTA and Metro North Railroad and include the report on agreements entered into directly by the Real Estate Department pursuant to board policy and our quarterly report on Grand Central Terminal Vanderbilt Hall events. Happy to answer any questions associated with these items.
Any questions on the real estate agenda? Having seen none, I'd like to accept a motion. Anyone have make a motion? David, second. Second by Lisa. All in favor? Any abstentions? Opposed? Motion carries. I'll take a motion from Mira. Would you like to make a motion for adjourn? For your first meeting, Mark got one, so for a motion, second? Second by Lisa. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.